I'm Caro from Whealthy-life, and I want to talk a little bit today about breathing. So we all know that we have a rib cage and we all know that we breathe, but a lot of us don't know how to breathe properly. So the rib cage it starts actually quite high up. Our top rib is just above our collarbone, and we have 12 ribs. They extend all the way down to, well, everybody knows where their rib cage ends because it's quite easy to feel. Through the sternum, all the ribs that are attached there are attached by bone because they're attached to the sternum. So even though they do move, they're not as fluid as the ribs at the bottom, which are only attached by cartilage. So those ribs really have a lot more space to move out and also to contract in. So we have our primary respiratory muscle, which is the diaphragm. And the diaphragm should descend as we inhale, and then exhale should just relax back up. Then it should have a pause before you breathe in again, then inhale, exhale. So ultimately what the diaphragm and the breath should sound like is sort of a tick-tock, so in, out, pause. In, out, pause. Now, because of today's anxiety situation that we live in, where we're all so under pressure and everybody's so busy, a lot of people end up overusing the top of the rib cage. So these, we can use these upper, well, it's our intercostal muscles between our ribs, and you know, if you've really had to exert yourself, you might find yourself doing this, or people who've run a race. So these muscles are accessory breathing muscles that should only really kick in when we are really fatigued or when we've really had to exert ourselves. But because, as I said, a lot of us are living in a constant state of anxiety, and the fight and flight response is like activated in most of us all the time, we end up breathing too much here because we're in this panic mindset. So the more we can think of slowing our breathing down and trying to take our breath lower in our bodies, the better it is for us. So yeah, if you feel that when you breathe, let's just do a little exercise now, and we'll put our hands on our bodies so we can feel where the breath mainly comes from. So if you inhale and exhale, I think probably a lot of you will find that it's easy to breathe up into your hands. Then we're going to take the hands to the rib cage, and we're going to breathe in here and breathe out. And what you should be able to feel here is that as you inhale, your hands actually widen, and as you exhale, they slightly narrow. We'll take our hands right to the back. So this is really the base of the rib cage at the back, where it meets the spine, and we're going to breathe in again. And breathe out. Let's do a few breaths here because this one is a little bit trickier for some people to feel. I always think it's like you've got gills on your back. You're trying to breathe behind you. You should feel that your rib cage can expand backwards. And the final place we're going to breathe is into the belly. So breathing in. You should feel your belly just naturally extend a little bit, and then as you exhale, it draws back in. Okay. So I know that a lot of especially yoga and also some Pilates teachers, look, we all practice different breathing methods, and I certainly don't want to say that any breathing methods are not valid, because even in what I teach, gyrotonic, there are a lot of different breathing patterns that we use. What I'm trying to really address here is functional breathing that we're going to use for everyday life. So whatever you do in your yoga class, in your Pilates class, your gyro class, is all totally valid, and it's great, and you do it to enhance the exercise and to get a better connection through something. But in terms of just daily life breathing, that's what I'm talking to here. Okay, so we don't really want to be belly breathing in our daily life. Why not? Because Our belly, our abdominal wall, its main purpose is to, well, obviously it contains the abdominal contents, but it is to support the spine. So, you know, we don't have a lot of bony support for the spine between the base of the rib cage and the pelvis. It's just our little spine holding there. And so the abdominal muscles really have quite an important job of working as that. So we don't want to be breathing through our bellies in our daily life. Then the second thing is we shouldn't ever, when we're breathing, feel like I should never hear, because what you're doing there is you're constricting the throat in the diaphragm in the throat, and that makes all the lungs and the whole breathing system work too hard. So breathing really needs to be very effortless and very quiet. So if we're hearing any rasping of exhale, or even on the inhale, you should hear absolutely nothing with the inhale and absolutely nothing with the exhale. No sound of breathing through the nose, no sound of breathing through the mouth, no controlling or tightening the throat. So let's just try a few like that. We're only going to breathe through the nose. So we're going to breathe in, breathe out, and then pause. And I'm going to count the breath this time. We're going to breathe in, 2, 3, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and pause, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 2, 3, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and pause, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 2, 3, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and pause, 2, 3, 4. Great. Okay. Some of you may have noticed that that was difficult to hold a pause. If that's the case, I'm going to do a separate video all about the timing of the breath and slowing the breathing down, but we're not going to cover that today. Hopefully when you were breathing and you had a little bit of a pause, you noticed that your diaphragm started to move. If you didn't feel that, if you felt like you were still really breathing very shallowly, then we're going to do a different exercise now to see how we get our diaphragm to move. Because I think, I know for myself, when I was pregnant and I had a big belly full of baby, my diaphragm didn't obviously have the room to move down very much, so it got a little bit stuck. Okay, so because the diaphragm attaches underneath the rib cage, what we're going to do now is we're going to dig our fingers right underneath our ribs. This does feel a bit uncomfortable for some people, especially if you've never had very much body work done. But yeah, just bear with me. So when you inhale, what you should feel is the muscle that is underneath your fingertips, which you probably didn't even realize was just there, should actually push your fingertips down. Okay, so you should feel that your fingers are going down into your belly as you inhale, and at the same time you can actually slightly widen there just to lengthen and open up the base of the rib cage. So we're going to breathe in, try and push your fingers out from your diaphragm, and then as you exhale you should feel that the diaphragm just moves back up inside the rib cage. So we're going to do a few of those. Breathing in, feeling that the diaphragm's pushing the fingers down out of the rib cage, and as you exhale, let the fingers just glide back up. This time as you inhale, you're going to try and widen the base of the ribs a little bit as well. And exhale. Now, if you certainly don't want to be breathing through your tummy muscles and pushing your fingers out from your tummy muscles, so you shouldn't feel that your fingers are flipping forwards this way. They shouldn't be being pushed out to the front of the body. They should just be pushed down inside the torso, and then exhale, glide back up. What else do I want to say there? Yeah, so hopefully if your diaphragm's been a little bit frozen, you might have felt something unusual happening there. And yeah, just keep practicing breathing and widening the base of the rib cage, expanding, thinking about the lower part of the ribs broadening, becoming aware of what it feels like when your diaphragm actually does move, because ultimately that is how we should be breathing. Anyway, I will be doing follow-up sequences, but for today we're focusing on getting the diaphragm moving and trying to relax the upper rib cage. Thank you so much. Bye.